Hi guys, and welcome to today's video tutorial. Before we get started, remember to put your name down in the comments and tag some friends. We're going to be giving away one of the products I'll be using here today, so make sure to do that. We'd like to greet you. Also, I'm kind of fighting for space here with my piece. This video today is going to go over a half bath vanity makeover. It's a new half bath vanity sink cabinet, and I wanted to make it look antique or old. So I'm going to be using gold leaf as usual, but this time I'm going to be using some milk paint. We'll be doing a one-step base coat and then milk paint, and I'm going to show you a few aging techniques on that to hopefully make this brand new half bath vanity look more old world, which is all of our styles apparently. So let me get started in this and I will show you.
Okay guys, here is just my piece. It was just a plain off-white. I added a little bit of detail to the drawers there with some embellishments, and then I started my base coat of one step. Now when you're using milk paints, you need to have something for it to bind to adhere to. So you need to put down a one-step paint first. And that's what I'm doing here. And this is, it's actually Windsor, one-step Windsor with some one-step linen mixed in. I just lightened the Windsor because I wanted this, this kind of brown to show through underneath my milk paint. Now, after I got the one step on, before I do my milk paint, I'm going to use my gold leafing size here. Now, if you have not used this before, you're going to take the size, and I've already put it on here, and you're going to put it on the areas where you want your gold leaf. I did the detail here, I did the legs, and you can see where it's shiny on the legs there, and it's already dry. Now, for those of you who have never used gold leaf, it comes in a pack like this. You're going to open it from the back, and it just peels off, and you're going to carefully take out, there's a whole book of gold leafing sheets there, okay? And they're bound together on one end. This is what I always do. You can use them from the book. The gold leaf itself is loose within those pieces of tissue paper, but it is bound all along this one end. So I always take my book of gold leaf and I trim that binding off, which I'm going to do here, and you will not cut into the gold leaf, and even if you cut a tiny bit off, it won't matter. So I just cut that off, and then I'm free to use the sheets more easily. This is how I use it. There could be instances where you would keep it in the binding, and I'll have to show you that in a later video. But for this, you're just going to pick up a sheet along with the tissue paper, and you're just going to start placing it down over the areas where you painted on your adhesive, which has to go on first, which is called size. And here I am taking a dry brush, and I'm just pouncing it down into those parts of the ornate detail that I added. Now, and it also helps to brush off the excess. There's another way that you can do this. As I'm doing, you can take one sheet and go along a whole area of trim there. You'd have to break away the long pieces. Or sometimes I will take, I'll take several sheets of gold leaf, and you can just piece this together. You'll get the excess, but sometimes I will take, and I'll show you here, you'll take 2 or 3 sheets of gold leaf all in between the tissue papers. And this just makes it a little bit easier when you're doing trim, whether you're doing a long piece of trim or you're going along a skinny area, that you do not need to use the whole gold leaf piece. So I just do strips of it, and it's not going to hurt your gold leaf. You can cut it off here into these strips, and it makes it, really easy to just lay those pre-cut pieces onto your trim. And you can just, little bit by little bit, you can go along, and one sheet can go a long way. And then you're not going to have to pull and tear that away. But if you don't want to cut the strips, as you can see there, you can just pull away what does not stick, and you can just add that in. And you're just going to press that down into the sticky area, those shiny areas that the adhesive has been placed. It's sticky. It's not wet, but it does have a tacky nature to it. So it's going to grab that very fine gold leaf. And I encourage you to play with some gold leaf. It's a lot of fun and you can't mess it up. And even if you do, you can start over. So there's really no mess up. You just need to get your adhesive where it needs to go. And you take your dry brush and you can pounce this down in here. Once you've laid a piece of gold leaf over a detailed area, if you feel like it didn't get down into those areas, you can take another sheet of gold leaf and go over it again and pounce it down in. A lot of people use twice. So now that my gold leaf is on, I'm going to mix up my milk paint. I have the Toscana milk paint here in the color Putting on the Ritz. It's a beautiful green color, and I love this color. I would say it's my favorite, but all of them are my favorite. So you're going to take your milk paint, and if you have not used it before, you have to mix it with water. But I mix mine very differently than a lot of people. So I always keep a spoon down in my dry powder, and I just scoop out what I need. And you can kind of gauge, how much you'll need, on your piece of furniture by how large the area is. But if you run out, you can always mix up more. Now, if you do mix colors, which I will do a lot of times, I will add several colors together. You need to make enough to where you don't run out, or you need to have the measurements exact. So this is how I do it. I mix my milk paint with a brush, and I use a brush that is long and flat and thin, almost like it's a paddle, because I'm going to just mix in a little bit of water to begin with. So I'm not going to put the entire amount of water that you normally would mix in, and then you would shake it. I do not shake my milk paint. I take my brush and I add a small amount, and I mix very slowly, and I allow that milk paint powder to absorb into that water, and it almost makes a paste or a really heavy cream. It can be very thick at first, but it helps. I don't ever get any bubbles, and I don't ever have to strain my milk paint to get out the bubbles. And you're just going to want to mix slowly here. Milk paint is an entirely different medium than any other paint. And I know a lot of people can get very frustrated when they use it because they are expecting it to be painted. You're expecting to paint your piece like you would with another type of paint, a one step or a chalk paint or something like that. Milk paints do not paint the same way, but they also have versatility that is endless. You can use them as a wash over raw wood. You can do them a little thicker and get more of an opaque look. There are many different things you can do. It is a different type of medium, and it is not going to paint like any other paint you've ever used before, but you're also not going to get a finish like you've ever had before. It's going to be the most authentic finish you can imagine. And it's been around for thousands of years, milk paint has. So you just want to mix it slowly, and there's all kinds of granules in there that need to dissolve. So ultimately, you would want to do this the night before. If you can remember and you can mix up your paint the night before you do your project, great. If not, you need to mix this and leave this for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And then you're going to want to keep stirring. But you don't want to shake. It has milk casein in it, and just like when you were a kid, I know I would blow into my glass of milk and get in trouble for it, but what happens when you blow into a glass of milk, whether you have a straw or you're just blowing into air into it, it's going to create a crazy amount of bubbles. So you do not want to bubble up that milk casein. You don't want to foam up that milk paint. You want to mix very slow and add your water in as you go. And then once it sits for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, the longer the better. Again, overnight is ideal. You can, you'll remix the next day after you've let it sit, and it will be ready to go. All right, so here I have my base coat of One Step down and my gold leaf over it, and I'm going to paint this on. And again, like I said, milk paint is an entirely different ball game. This is not like any other paint you've used, and it will not go on. I know I hear a lot of people, ladies, will say that they don't like it, they don't understand it, and that is because it's not like your typical milk paint. It's been around for a very long time, made with organic materials. It's so safe you could pour it out into your garden when you're done. There's no nothing toxic about it, and I mean, it went back as far as Egyptian times. I know my son was a big fan of Egyptology, and he studied King Tut's tomb for years. King Tut's tomb had a large amount of items that were painted with milk paint. There's a vibrancy to milk paint that you can't get with any other paint, and it is beautiful. So I say, for those who are very confused by it and that are really not sure what it's doing, or a lot of people I hear say that it will be streaky, you need to play with it. You need to spend time doing small little projects where you can understand how it works in different varying degrees, whether it be a wash or whether you do it a little bit thicker. But here I am painting it over my gold leaf. And yes, I painted all the paint right over that gold leaf, and then I'm wiping it away with my negative tool here. And it will dry lighter, as you can see. It's very much lighter. And you'll need to, I'm going to age it here slightly. I've wiped away a lot of the milk paint from the gold areas, but if I would have wanted to leave that till it dried, that would be fine. With milk paint, you can go in and, as I say, you can reactivate it. Once you get it wet again, it's going to start working again, whether it's going to become wet again, and you can remove it. You can move it around. You can do a lot of different things with it. So you can use a sponge, or you can use a cloth. I would not recommend paper towels with the antiquing glaze. This is the antiquing glaze here, and I just put a little bit into a cup, and I'm going to load my my soft cloth here with it. And you're just going to pat it on over your milk paint. So as you start to pat that on, your milk paint it's going to get wet again. It's basically going back to its liquid form, and at that point you can rub it away. This is very versatile in many ways. You can rub away and you can see the one-step color underneath, which is what I'm doing here. I'm pulling some of that milk paint away so I can see that taupe one-step color underneath. You can also go back over your gilded areas, and you can wipe away more of the milk paint away from the gold. And you're just going to keep, kind of pat and drag. Don't wipe if you can help it, because it will wipe away your milk paint. So you want to pat it along those areas. The antiquing glaze will also give it a bit of an aged and glazed look. I like how it will pool in the corners, and it can look dirty or aged. It kind of looks as if it's an old piece. So I like to take my antiquing glaze and go let it pool a little bit in the corners. Sometimes it even looks like it can leave watermarks, which I personally like. So I will purposely leave it in areas and allow it to dry to leave almost like tea stain. It looks like a tea stained look if you know what that is, when we used to tea stain linens. But you can go in and go over the gold leaf with these bits. And again, I'm rubbing away a lot of, well, not a lot, but in very strategic areas, I'm just kind of wiping away some of it to leave that one step underneath the show. Or not so strategic. A little secret of mine is to not focus too much on where it rubs off. Just kind of let it happen. Or do it in the areas where it would have naturally worn away on that drawer if you would have opened it 100 times. But when I think too much and try to take it away in areas that I think, it should come away, and it ends up being too much. So a lot of times I just add my antiquing glaze and rub away in small bits of areas and do not focus too much on it. But you are going to wet the entire surface. I'm doing the drawers here, and it does help to lay your piece flat if you can. If it's a large piece of furniture, obviously that is not as easy to do, but you can work in sections so that you can control any dripping, and you can just slowly go over those sections and get that antiquing glaze into onto your milk paint there and pull away. But again, you want to dip in and add that on, and you don't want to wring your rag back into your clean antiquing gel. So have a few extra rags there if that one gets very loaded with paint, because you have been pulling away that milk paint with that negative tool. Just have another rag, or rinse that one out. Just in the sink, rinse that out and get the paint out of that, and then you can continue to dip in there. But you want the full concentration of your antiquing glaze to continue to go down over it. And again, you're just going to pat and drag all over this piece. I like to try to get it in a lot of different areas, but you want to go over your entire piece, all the sides, all the legs, and get this on. You can also add the wax at the end of this. If you want to put your light wax and your dark wax together over this, you can do that as well. You could even use cerusing wax, mind your own beeswax, whichever you would like. You could even use a glaze or a matte sealer, but you do need to seal your milk paint so that it does not rub away. As you can see, it's a medium that is easily pulled away. So again, this antiquing glaze, I'm going in and I'm taking more of my milk paint out of the gilded areas. And that's the time when it becomes artistic. You start to see, how much you want pulled out of particular areas. And you're going to use this negative tool to achieve the look that you want. And as you're doing it, you will see what looks good to you. Okay, your eye is going to tell you, okay, do I want more or less? So this is completely up to you. And when you're all finished, this is a little vanity that I did for the half bath, and I am loving it in the milk paint and gold leaf. And if you have any questions, please ask them in the comments, and I will be happy to get back with you. Thank you for watching today, and I hope you enjoyed this video.